Hi, everyone. Come in, we don't fight.
Happy day 3.
Happy day 3.
The light crowd this morning, so we're thinking people were out late last night.
Yeah, we heard there were some serious late night club hoppings, but I guess that's maybe not the audience we're talking to. Anyway, Marci, so good to be here with you. Marci is the Vice President of Integrated Marketing at the Campbell Soup Company. Marci leads marketing communications and the design teams with a focus on transformation. Grounded in data, analytics, strong storytelling, her team creates breakthrough content, campaigns, and partnerships that drive equity as well as ROI year over year, obviously in a significant way. So let's jump into marketing innovation. We're going to talk about marketing innovation. We're going to talk about, as it relates to tech, and have a discussion around that, of course, and CPG marketing. So let's see. Tell us about your approach to innovation and modernization of Campbell's obviously stellar heritage brands. How do you get your hands around it?
Sure, and just at the beginning, I was at Campbell's for around 10 years, but actually the idea of marketing innovation is what brought me to Campbell. I don't have a traditional CPG background. I came from Bank of America, AT&T, Bell South, the agency side before it. But when I got the call, one of the things that they talked about was that the CEO at the time was looking for innovation across all areas of the company, not just product innovation. And that to me was really exciting because I think in the work that we do, being able to innovate and drive something new and different that's meaningful and impactful to the business is what keeps us coming back every day. So it's what brought me to Campbell. And when we think about marketing innovation, just as a term, it's so broad that it can mean everything and nothing. And so we really stepped back and said, what does it mean to us? So we put a definition behind it. So when our leaders ask, what are we doing? We can actually answer it because we've got that criteria that we can evaluate everything through. And the interesting thing that it's done is when we show the list, we showed the list to my boss a few years ago, and she's like, well, where is this and this and this and this? And we're like, it does not meet the criteria. So it's actually been really helpful, and I think it helps us raise the bar. And some of the things that we have on the list are never been done before, of course. But the other thing that we have on the list is, might have been done before, but we've done it in a really new and different way. And a third piece of it is performance. Because you can do a lot of stunts that are fun and capture a lot of attention or buzz, but if it actually doesn't drive performance, then it doesn't mean anything to us or to the business. So that is a key part of it, is you have all the other criteria, but at the end of the day, it has to drive performance. And I think when we are also thinking about innovation, because we are a house of brands, and we have such differences between our brands, there isn't a single equation that we look for. We have a filter that we apply as well, but how we modernize and think about Campbell's is very different than how we think about Pacific Foods, and very different than how we think about a V8. And so really understanding the brand foundation is core to what we do, and then layering on that cultural moment and that consumer insight to bring through new and creative ideas. And because most people think Campbell's is pretty traditional in how we do things, we thought we would show, or I thought I'd show a video that we put together earlier in 23 to just give you an idea of how we bring our brands to life in market. So whoever's got the video, you can roll the video, please.
Raible, Campbell's and soup people. Campbell's chucking you up, turn it finale. Campbell's soup, they're appealing to a younger generation years off. I got the Campbell's on. There's no question that can is magic. juice. Yeah, I drink V8 juice every day, Mom.
Right, so good. We thought for the last day, we bring a little kind of fun show and tell into the room on that account. Has anybody tried the ghost pepper chicken noodle stew? Anybody? I mean, I think that's just such a clever application way of like bringing the brand, such a heritage brand forward, especially playing off of all of the, sort of elements of TikTok and taking modernization and driving right into it. So, of course, AI, huge topic of the week, Gen AI. So, as part of innovation, as your charge, talk to us about how you're utilizing AI to help bring the brands forward.
Yes, I have not been to the floor yet. I'm going later today, but I do know the things of AI.
Sure.
And for us, AI is not something new. I mean, we've all lived it, right? If you work in this space, AI has been out there for a while. And Campbell's was actually one of the first. We were a beta partner with IBM Watson and the Weather Channel. So we've been incorporating AI and technology into our plans for many years. And a big part of the way that we go to market is that test and learn. So, what's happening, how can we think about the technology and how it enhances the consumer experience, and then build that crawl up front. So we started with IBM Watson and the Weather Channel, which built off of weather targeting that we had done before. And with that first step, when we did it, it was about what are the ingredients you have in your pantry, and then recipes that would come forward based on what you had available to you. Fast forward to what we're doing today, where we're partnering with Dr. Meredith and using AI and their All Recipe All-Stars to bring a similar concept to life, right? When you think about what food you have available, what are you looking to solve, but it goes beyond that one question, and I think that's really the interesting thing with what AI allows us to do today is better understand the consumer. Of course, the data gets richer over time, but going below that first question so that the solutions that you provide are much more meaningful and real. And so we use AI within partnerships, like the Dotdash Meredith one. We're also using it behind the scenes. So we're looking at all of the recipes that we have on our website. Again, using a tool that we're partnering with Dotdash Meredith on to score our recipes, using AI to score them, and then elevate the content and how the content comes to life. So using it consumer-facing, using it behind the scenes, and then we've also worked with some different partners who have betas, alphas and betas going on about how you use AI to bring content to life. So I think that's the key thing for us as we think about AI is taking it beyond just that, oh, we're going to use it, for something that we're doing in media and targeting, to really how do you use it across the full spectrum of the work. And with everything that's new, I think the testing, making sure that your tests are set up so they aren't so visible that if it doesn't work, everybody knows about it, but that testing and learning and just being willing to get your feet wet.
Yeah, the learning agenda,
Yes.
as we were discussing, so critical. So obviously, I think that, covers how you go about it in the day-to-day world. And as we drive deeper into the data and tech behind that learning agenda and what informs you, the other big theme of the last few days, of course, have been around this, cookieless world that we're moving into. So, being a part of CPG, I know that's probably been a challenge since the early days, and we heard a little bit of that yesterday from the Pepsi client as well. But talk to us about how that applies to your learning agenda and how you'll continue to innovate and move forward, knowing that that's now part of the mix as well.
Sure. And just to highlight the learning agenda, I think I grew up in media, and I think media, the world of media has been transforming for so long, right? For any of us who've worked in this space, you can't be static. You have to constantly be evolving and changing. And so a learning agenda for me and my team, the team at Spark, is really what guides us, because there's so many things out there that you can lean into and try that you can end up just doing a lot of stuff that doesn't actually add up or is an additive to what you're trying to do. And so we spend a lot of time thinking about what do we know, what don't we know, what do we need to learn, and then focusing on where are we going to actually focus our learning so that it's meaningful at the year end and progresses our work. So we use that learning agenda to guide us and then bring it to life across brands. When you think about the cookieless world, which has been talked about for so long, the key thing for us was we don't own the end consumer relationship like most of the CPG brands. And so we've been really thoughtful about our data strategy and started many years ago, how do we think about first party, second party, and third party data? Building a CRM engine when you're a CPG company and don't own that end consumer relationship is a massive undertaking. Financially, resources, et cetera. And so being really thoughtful about where does first party data fit in our mix? How do we think about second and third party data? So our equation has always been inclusive of all three of those pieces. And then as we move into cookieless, right, it becomes less about the third party and more. So your balance across them continues to change. But I think just like anything, how we think about any technology, it's the same thing. You have to have that data strategy, and then how do you pull it through to planning? It was one of the things I was thinking about when the last panel was talking, is that audience planning has always been there, but it's typically happened at the end when you're in more of that tactical execution phase. You're actually taking the buy to market. And now it's much more about having that audience planning, that audience strategy from the forefront, so that you're not only building out your experiences against it, but you're actually driving your content against it. Probably much to the chagrin of many of the folks who work on content, that here come the media people again, like, driving what they need to do. But I think it makes that audience planning work stream significantly more important and breaking down those silos. Because in CPG, we have the historic shopper marketing sitting on the one side and consumer marketing sitting on the other. Retailer media starts to break that down, right? You become media with a capital M. But then how do you think about your audiences across that whole journey? And that, I think, for us, the cookieless world, we've seen it coming, be prepared, have your plan for second, third party, but then make sure you're actually pulling it through to how you plan and implement.
And so obviously that sets us up for the next part of our talk around that CPG marketing piece. And of course, retail media continues to be a huge topic in the out-of-home space. It's something that we spend a lot of time talking about, how to sort of, continue to bridge that consumer journey in the life of a consumer's day. What does that look like, as you make these choices and walk into stores or do your shopping online? How does your team approach that consumer journey? So, and even, more specifically, share with us anything that you're comfortable, successes or challenges along the way as it relates to the different brands within the house.
So I'm a big fan of consumer journeys and that consumer understanding. I've worked on them a lot across the course of my career, and I would say the first thing when you're thinking about the consumer journey is make sure you're asking the right question. This was back when I was at Bank of America, and I think when we were working on a campaign that we were going to bring to life, it was really about how we were defining the brand or redefining the brand after the 2008, 2009 crisis, and so. I think at first blush, everyone thought it was about a consumer journey to finance or a consumer journey to banking or, in that category aspect and how consumers interact with us. And when we were actually going through everything, what we realized was it was a consumer journey to rebuilding trust. And so in rebuilding a relationship, and it was very much in that vein of that connection between people and a brand versus a category. And so it was really making sure you're asking the right questions to build the consumer journey off of. We started breaking down our consumer journeys. So before we had a shopper journey or a path to purchase, and then we had the consumer journey, and you had shopper planning off of one, and consumer national media planning off of the other. And so we took the time to do holistic consumer journeys, so you see it end to end, which really allows us to implement media to shelf programs and be really thoughtful about how we're bringing that to life. And I think that was a big change for us, one source of truth for the consumer journey. And then we refresh that each year with what's happening. Because your overall consumer journeys won't change that much, but there may be things happening in the world that are going to influence it or change pieces of it. So just knowing everything that's going on with inflation in the marketplace, we did an overlay of value and how that was impacting the consumer journey. And what we found is that, some things were the same, but there were differences, right? How people were defining value, how they were thinking about their meal planning versus impulse purchases started to change. So you did see some changes coming through. And I think that how do you always keep it fresh so your journey isn't static becomes really important. There's a big difference as you think about our journeys. We have beverage, so the beverage journey looks very different than the meal journey. What you do see in the beverage journey is shoppability the entire way across. Very different than the meal journey, even though e-commerce is a part of food purchasing today, just it plays a very different role in beverage. And so how we think about those touch points and what we turn on and how we prioritize looks very different, which goes back to that innovation and how you think about innovation, which builds off of it too. And so that's the key first part for us. I think the other thing that is different for us or that we've learned is planning together. So we workshop together on audiences. And I also feel like I'm pulling in a lot of my old telecom language, like we're talking about, which is not normal CPG language, right? We're building acquisition campaigns versus retention campaigns. That differentiation starts to become really important because I want my retention to be at a much lower cost than my acquisition so that I can afford my acquisition. And so starting to think about it from that, it's not just an audience I'm planning for how I'm going to target, but it's an audience planning from a content perspective, from an experience perspective, thinking about what your allowables are as a CPM, and pulling it the whole way through. And I think differences that we've seen come to light based on the consumer journey is for V8 as an example, we actually created a pillar in our experience plan, which was all around community. Because when you looked at the experience, this whole idea of community really popped through within that journey. And so it became a pillar within our experience plan and how do we build off of that. We also see it come through with tactics as well, but I think that ability to impact not just the tactics, but the experience plan as a whole was a big unlock for us.
Are there any standout activations or actual tactics that consumers have interacted with in the last year or they were planning for in 2024 that were your favorites in the table?
Yeah, it does feel a little like Sophie's Choice whenever you have to do favorites. Exactly. But there are a couple for me. One is a partnership that we did with Influential. I think they were talking yesterday. Where we work with influencers, and but it is about what's trending. So we don't have a static group of influencers that are brand ambassadors that we work with across the year. It really is what's trending, and then how do we match the influencer to the trend. And so I think that whole thing about agility and speed and bringing it into different parts of your mix that you wouldn't have thought of before definitely has been really positive for us and driven significantly higher engagement. So that's one of my favorites just because it was a never done before idea with that partner and really bringing it to life. Another one is just holiday, hopefully. You guys are all buyers of Campbell soup and Swanson broth during holiday or Pacific broth during holiday. But we started 3 years ago. My boss actually challenged us and said, how do we like make sides bigger? How do we make sides part of the conversation? And so we started talking about sides and how do we establish authority on sides? How does Campbell's become to sides what Butterball is to turkey? And so we created a whole program called Side Season. We started, it's a paid-owned and shared program. And we started it 2 years ago. Last year it got bigger. This year what we noticed was that the conversation around holiday actually started to change. So you had New York Times writing articles about the sides. You had other brands calling it side season. You had retailers talking about the sides. And so the amount of conversation about the sides dramatically different 2 years in versus when we started the program. And so to see when you can bring an activation to life and establish the authority of your brand, but then also change the conversation in the marketplace, that's when it's really fun.
And that's great. I mean, I love that, certainly in a performance forward world that we're in, there's so much pressure, through all of the channels to deliver a brand metric like that, and the social awareness, actually being able to take the thing that you created and it becomes the term that's now assimilated into culture. It's a win as well as actually, moving product through the shelves or the e-commerce funnel too.
Definitely, and I think that's where performance, we have a lot of conversation about performance and making sure we're clear on what the KPI is. Because sometimes it is brand lift, sometimes it's sales lift, sometimes it's a combination of the two. You want to have an eye on the two. We really think about a layered approach to measurement because understanding what those front-end metrics are and how they link correlation or causal relationships to in-market performance is key. We don't know for every brand, we're still in a learning process and things change, but really thinking about the speed at which you're getting data back so that you can be optimizing constantly across the mix is one of the ways that we like to work. So we constantly have the feed. You've got front-end metrics that are coming in, you know what the implication of those are. Then you get that in-flight reads, brand lift and sales lift, and then go into an MMX or a more traditional model so that you can be making different decisions at different times.
Fantastic. We have a couple of minutes if there's any questions in the audience for Marci. Favorite side?
My favorite side? Well, if you haven't tried the jalapeno mac and cheese recipe, unexpected from Campbell's because it uses cheddar cheese soup and has a little kick to it, so it brings something new and different to the table. And yeah, I love that one.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the Pacific, the chicken boat broth. We keep
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
Lots of that in my world.
Favorite product that was B plus energy. Yes.
How you doing? How are you tracking retention in omni-commerce environment where consumers maybe purchase your product across multiple retailers, online touchpoints, pure play, et cetera? So just thinking back to loyalty retention and tracking that metric.
Yeah, and that is part of the audience planning, and I think that's the struggle that we have in today's world, right? Because every retailer is just another walled garden for us. So I would say it's not perfect because there is that dynamic of the world today. But what we're working now is how do we get to that personal ID, so where we actually know across and get smarter across. So it is a build process for us. Right now it's more siloed, so you're not seeing the cut across, but it's the journey to get to that. Yeah. Yeah. I long for the days when I had all that end user behavior. Yeah. CPG can definitely challenge you, but I think it's the muscle and it makes us smarter.
Do you ever look at brands outside of the Campbell's house, like for triangulation to, help even further the gospel, if you will?
You mean more from like a data and shared learnings perspective or on a program perspective?
Like,
Yeah.
If you were going to pair the
Oh,
energy
yeah.
with, a lifestyle choice or, another partner, in the CPG landscape, or because you are a house brand, I would imagine, working across the stable could also present some interesting opportunities.
Yes, and it's one of the programs I didn't put on my list of favorites, but we did a program in October which was for tomato soup and grilled cheese, which we're single-handedly trying to make it tomato soup and grilled cheese instead of grilled cheese and tomato soup. And we partnered with Kraft Singles and Pembridge Farm Bread to really bring what we call the perfect pair to life. The program in store was called the perfect pair, which was really that shopper equation, that basket fill equation. How do you fill the basket? It's the three brands coming together as that perfect combination. But the go-to-market approach for consumer, we called Do Them, which was really about driving that consumer excitement, that consumer engagement, and around that love of that moment when your grilled cheese dips in that tomato soup. And so really thinking about when you hear the name internally, it was like perfect pair of Jesus. It was like, why does it have to be so complex? And it really was about understanding what the benefit was to the consumer and making sure that that program showed up with that consumer-facing benefit in the right environment. It didn't need to be exactly the same.
No, it's simple, it's perfect. You can see the social application, for I'm sure lots of people in this room like us follow all the food influencers, and like you can just sort of see the win in that simple,
Completely.
action. It is soup season, so I'm with you. Super.
Exactly. Hi.
Hey, I'm Brian McGurk from Stingray Advertising. I think this works. I'm a doctor, absolutely.
Love that.
I encourage you to talk about the shopper marketing as well as digital. How are you activating your retail media networks this year, and will it come from both of those budgets or just one?
It's a great question. My counterpart who oversees shopper marketing and omnichannel marketing is like a partner in crime. We spend a lot of time together. We do think of it across the whole, and how we're starting to talk about it is there's retail media, which we're looking at it as or as we talk about it to make it clearer, that's on site, on platform, in their ecosystem, and then retail data, because retail data is that happens off platform, and how we actually use that data in the smartest way. And so that delineation has really helped us, because when you say retail media, it was like so comprehensive that everybody was like, what are you talking about? And you could get a lot of confusion. So that delineation, I think, has been really helpful to us. The audience planning piece is also a big way that we work together and come together and plan it from the beginning. So really thinking about what the job to be done is, how that changes upper funnel, mid funnel, lower funnel, and then how data comes to life across those. And so the job to be done, retention, acquisition, are we both doing the same thing, so it's a 1 + 1 = more, or are we delineating so we can actually do more? And so being very thoughtful about that, and then in the off-platform world, making sure left hand knows what the right hand is doing, so everything is sequenced and worked together to the best of our ability. It is, complex because of all the walled gardens, but really at least starting from that standpoint. And from a budget perspective, in today's world, it can come from both spaces. What we're trying to make sure is we're not both paying for the same thing. We're all good. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.